He never planned to be a father again. Some choices in life come softly. A look, a word, a hand held too long. But this one came in a way that tore something open inside him. When Daniel signed the adoption papers that rainy afternoon, he thought he was saving a child from the world. He didn't know the boy would end up saving him instead. But why did the child's eyes look so familiar? Why did he hum a melody Daniel hadn't heard since the night his wife walked away? And what secret could connect a man trying to forget with a boy who seemed born to remember? Before we begin, tell me where you're listening from in the comments. Your city, your country, anywhere in the world. And if stories like this keep you watching, please subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Your support truly helps me keep sharing these journeys. Daniel was 42 when silence finally became too loud to bear. His wife, Claire, had died almost 10 years earlier. Sudden, unfair, the kind of death that left dishes in the sink and words unfinished. He'd spent years burying himself in work, building houses for strangers because fixing his own felt impossible. He told himself he was fine, that grief was just love with nowhere left to go. But on the nights when rain pressed against the windows, he'd still turn his head, expecting to see her silhouette in the doorway. It was on one of those nights that a letter arrived. "We're reaching out to ask if you'd be interested in fostering a child." 7 years old, no immediate family. He almost threw it away. But something about the handwriting stopped him. Neat, careful. The same way Claire used to write when she wanted her words to land gently. A week later, he found himself standing in the small, overbright office of the social services building, signing papers he didn't remember agreeing to. "His name's Leo," the caseworker said. "He's quiet, but kind. He likes music." When Daniel met him for the first time, the boy was sitting on a bench outside, small hands folded over a worn backpack. His hair stuck up in all directions, a stubborn brown halo that refused order. He didn't look up right away, but when he did, Daniel froze. Those eyes. A deep hazel green, the exact shade that lived in his memories. Claire's eyes. "Hi," Daniel said, trying to sound calm. "You must be Leo." The boy nodded, studying him with quiet curiosity. "You build houses," he said softly. "They told me." "I do," Daniel said. "Would you like to see one?" Leo shrugged. "Maybe. I like roofs. They keep people dry." Daniel smiled, something tugging painfully behind his ribs. "That's the idea." They drove home mostly in silence. The boy hummed quietly in the back seat, a simple tune, soft and strangely familiar. It took Daniel a moment to realize what it was. Claire's lullaby, the one she used to hum when the world was too heavy for words. He almost pulled the car over. "Where did you learn that song?" he asked, voice tight. Leo looked up from his seatbelt. "My mom used to sing it," he said, before she had to go away. Daniel's grip on the steering wheel faltered. His heart thudded in a rhythm that felt too close to recognition. "That's a beautiful song," he said carefully. "She said it keeps bad dreams small," Leo murmured, gazing out the window. "I think it works." Daniel couldn't speak. He just drove, through the gray rain, through memories that wouldn't stay buried. At home, Leo explored quietly, touching things as if asking permission. The boy paused by the piano in the living room, the one Daniel hadn't opened since Claire died. He ran a finger along the dust-covered keys and whispered, "She had one like this." "Your mom?" Daniel asked. Leo nodded. "She said music remembers us when people forget." That night, after putting Leo to bed, Daniel sat by the piano. He lifted the lid and pressed one key, then another. The sound was rough, uneven, but when he closed his eyes, he could almost hear Claire's laughter again. The boy's voice came from the hallway, sleepy but sure. "You played it wrong," Leo said. "It starts with the low note first." Daniel turned. "How do you know that?" Leo yawned. "Because that's how she used to play it." Daniel felt the room tilt, just slightly. "Who?" "My mom," the boy said, already half asleep. "Her name was Claire." The cup slipped from Daniel's hand and shattered on the floor. He stared at the child, at those eyes, that song, that name echoing through 10 long, lonely years, and felt his past rise like a tide he could no longer hold back. Morning came heavy with the kind of silence that doesn't belong to a house where a child now lives. Daniel lay awake long before the sun, staring at the cracks in the ceiling, listening to the faint rhythm of Leo's breathing in the next room. He told himself it was impossible. There were thousands of Claires in the world, thousands of mothers who sang lullabies, and yet the ache in his chest whispered otherwise. He got up before dawn, made coffee, and stood by the window as the first light spilled across the yard. The sky was soft blue, the color of her eyes before she laughed. He caught himself thinking of her again and exhaled sharply, trying to push the memory away. But some ghosts don't stay buried just because you're tired of digging. When Leo padded into the kitchen, barefoot and still half asleep, Daniel forced a smile. "Morning, champ." "Hungry?" The boy nodded. "Can I have toast with honey?" "Sure thing," Daniel said, turning toward the counter. His hands worked automatically, spreading honey over toast while his mind wandered in circles. When he turned back, Leo was sitting at the table, sketching something on a scrap of paper with an old pencil he must have found. "What are you drawing?" Daniel asked. "The lake," Leo said. "The one from the picture in the hallway." Daniel blinked. "What picture?" "The one with the woman," Leo said simply. "She's standing on a dock. There's light on the water. I saw it when I went to wash my hands last night." Daniel froze. That photo was upstairs, framed and hidden behind a stack of books in the hallway cabinet. He hadn't looked at it in years. "How did you see it?" Leo shrugged, unconcerned. "It fell down when I opened the door. I put it back." "Did you?" Daniel swallowed. "Did you know her?" Leo didn't answer right away. He just kept sketching. Then, softly, he said, "I think she's the same lady who sang the song." Daniel sat down, his pulse loud in his ears. "Where did you live before, Leo?" "Before they found you." The boy thought for a moment, eyes down. "A small town, with trees that looked like they were made of gold in the fall. There was a lake, and a house with white paint. My mom said she painted it herself." Daniel's breath caught. His and Claire's first home had been exactly that. White walls, gold leaves, the lake glimmering beyond the trees. He forced his voice steady. "Do you remember what happened to your mom?" Leo frowned, his pencil stopping mid-line. "She got sick," he said, "but she told me not to cry. She said I'd go somewhere safe and maybe one day I'd meet the man who builds roofs strong enough to stop the rain." Daniel's chest tightened. Claire's words, her phrasing, her warmth, echoed through the boy's sentence like a haunting melody. He reached for his coffee, but his hand shook too much to hold it. "Leo, how old are you?" 7, the boy said proudly. 7. Claire had died 8 years ago. Daniel stood up abruptly, his breath shallow. "Excuse me," he murmured, leaving the kitchen before the walls could hear the sound of his heart breaking. He went upstairs and found the photo. The frame was still warm from the sun streaming through the window. It was taken at the lake, the last summer before Claire got sick. She was smiling into the camera, hair messy from the wind, her hand resting on her belly, a gesture so natural, so unassuming, that he hadn't thought twice about it then. But now, looking at it again, he saw it. Her fingers spread just slightly, protectively, in that unmistakable way mothers do. His hands trembled. "No," he whispered. "No, she would have told me." But another voice inside him said, "Would she?" He grabbed his coat and keys. He needed answers. The town clerk's office was quiet except for the hum of the old printer. Daniel approached the counter, the photo still in his hand. "I'm looking for a birth record," he said. The clerk, an older woman with kind eyes, adjusted her glasses. "Name?" He hesitated. "Leo. No last name. Born about 7 years ago." She frowned. "That's not much to go on." "Maybe," he said, sliding the photo forward. "Maybe the mother's name will help." Claire. Claire Evans. Her eyes flicked to the photo, then back to him. "Claire Evans," she repeated softly. "I remember her." Daniel's heart stuttered. "You knew her?" "She came in years ago," the clerk said, turning toward her computer. "Registered a birth herself. No father listed." Daniel's throat went dry. "Can you show me?" She hesitated, then nodded, printing a document. "Here." He looked down. "Leo Evans. Born 7 years ago. Mother, Claire Evans. Father, not declared." Daniel stared at the paper until the ink blurred. His own name wasn't there, but it didn't need to be. He already knew. That evening, he drove home in silence. The world outside the windshield looked different, clearer, sharper, crueler. Leo was in the living room when Daniel walked in, building something with toy blocks. "Hey," the boy said brightly. "I made a house. It has a big window so the light can come in." Daniel smiled weakly. "That's a good idea. Do you like it?" He crouched beside the small structure, his throat tightening. "I love it," he said. Then, after a pause, "Leo, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "When your mom talked about the man who builds roofs," Daniel said gently, "did she ever say his name?" Leo thought for a moment, then nodded. "She said his name was Daniel. Like yours." The world stopped. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. Leo looked up, confused. "Why are you crying?" Daniel wiped his face with a trembling hand, managing a small, broken laugh. "Because sometimes," he whispered, "the truth hurts and heals at the same time." He pulled the boy into his arms, holding him tight. Not as a foster father, not as a stranger fulfilling a promise, but as the man he finally understood he had been all along. "My God," he murmured, pressing his forehead to Leo's hair. "You're mine." The boy hugged him back without hesitation, as if he'd known it forever. "I know," he said simply. "She told me." The next few days passed in a haze of realization. Quiet, heavy, and yet strangely peaceful. Daniel had spent years trying to rebuild a life that had collapsed without warning, not knowing that a part of it had been alive all along, breathing somewhere else, waiting for him. Now that missing piece was sitting at his kitchen table, eating cereal and humming Claire's lullaby between spoonfuls. Each note was a memory, and each memory was forgiveness. He watched Leo, his son, laughing softly at something on the radio. That same crooked smile Claire used to wear when she tried to hide how happy she was. And for the first time in years, the house didn't feel haunted anymore. That afternoon, while Leo napped on the couch, Daniel opened the old wooden chest in the hallway. It still smelled faintly of cedar and perfume, Claire's scent, lingering like she refused to leave. Inside were photos, letters, and a small sealed envelope, his name written across it in her unmistakable handwriting. He sat down slowly, heart pounding. The letter began simply, "Daniel, if you're reading this, it means I didn't get to tell you everything. I was pregnant when I left. I wanted to tell you 100 times, but I thought I was doing the right thing. You'd just started building again. Not just houses, but yourself. I didn't want to pull you back into the storm of my sickness. The doctors said I wouldn't survive the birth. They were wrong, for a while. I named him Leo because it means brave. He has your eyes when you're dreaming, and your heart when you're afraid. Please, if he ever finds you, don't tell him I left because I stopped loving you. Tell him I left because I wanted him to have the best part of you. You were always home to me. Claire." By the time he finished reading, Daniel's hands were shaking. He pressed the letter to his chest and let the tears fall freely. Not the angry kind he used to cry when he felt cheated by life, but the soft kind that come when you finally understand. He looked up at the photo on the wall. Claire standing by the lake, sunlight in her hair, and whispered, "You were wrong, Claire. You didn't take me away from the storm. You gave me the reason to survive it." That evening, Daniel and Leo sat together on the porch as the sun began to set. Leo held a tiny wooden toy house they'd built earlier that day, his small fingers tracing the roofline. "Dad," Leo said suddenly, the words still new between them. Daniel's heart skipped. "Yeah, buddy? Did Mom like the sunset?" Daniel smiled faintly. "She loved it. She said it looked like the sky remembering how to start over." Leo nodded, thoughtful. "Then we should watch it every night, so she knows we're okay." He put an arm around the boy. "I think she already does." They sat in silence as the sky burned orange, then gold, then soft pink. The same lake shimmered in the distance, the same one from the photograph, the same one from their past. It was as if time had circled back to give them one last chance to live what they'd lost. Later that night, when Leo had fallen asleep, Daniel placed Claire's letter inside a new frame on the mantel beside her picture. He whispered, "He's safe now. You can rest." And for the first time, he didn't feel like a man holding on to memories. He felt like a father holding on to life. He went to the piano, the one that had been silent for a decade, and pressed the low note first, just as Leo had told him. The sound filled the house, soft but sure. The melody rose, imperfect and trembling, but alive. Upstairs, Leo stirred and murmured in his sleep, "You played it right this time." Daniel smiled. "Yeah, kid." Finally. The next morning, they went together to the lake, father and son, carrying a small box of wildflowers. Daniel opened it and let the petals scatter across the water. Leo watched, eyes wide. Is this for her? Yes, Daniel said. And for us. They stood there for a long time, until the wind shifted and carried the last of the flowers toward the horizon. The world felt bigger than before, but less lonely. Daniel looked down at the boy beside him, Claire's legacy, his redemption, and whispered, "You're everything she hoped for." Leo reached up and took his hand. Then we're both lucky, right? Daniel smiled through the tears. Yeah, kid. We're both lucky. As they walked back home, the sun rose higher, spilling golden light across the path. The breeze carried the faint scent of wildflowers, and for a fleeting moment, Daniel could have sworn he heard Claire's laughter. Soft, close, happy. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. Because some goodbyes don't end anything. They just make room for beginnings. If this story touched your heart, tell me what you felt in the comments below. Do you believe love ever really ends? Or does it just change shape? And if you want more stories about life, loss, and finding hope again, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support means more than you know. It's what keeps stories like this alive.